know what it takes to make effective change in terms of hours by citizens and how many it takes and the kind of strategies. When I hitchhiked from Connecticut through to New York to Washington, D.C. in 1963 and 64, a few years out of law school, I was picked up by a truck driver in Delaware, and I was on the highway like this, picked me up, and he said to me, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Washington, D.C. He said, to do what? I said, to bring General Motors under federal regulation. He gave me a strange look, he was going to let me off on the side of the road. Now, those were the days when I believe, and this is the real American dream, this is economic accumulation. The real American dream is justice, equal justice under law, due process, probable cause, access to justice. I believe if you went down to Washington and you had the goods on the auto companies suppressing long developed safety devices like seat belts, airbags, padded dash panels. That one was created by the Roman Chariot manufacturer 2,000 years ago. Plenty of lead time for GM. Stronger door latches, rollover strength, side protection, head restraints, collapsing steering columns, non-shattered glass, all the things that we now take for granted. That if you place this before the members of Congress, in the key committee, for the key chairs, things would start to happen. And they did start to happen. And from the first hearing in April of '65 until September '65, that's what it took to bring one of the largest industries in the country under federal safety and fuel efficiency regulation, signed by Lyndon Johnson in September at the White House. I then said to myself, well, this is really good. So I went into gas pipeline safety, flammable fabric safety, went into air and water pollution laws, the occupational safety laws, Environmental Protection Agency, the Freedom of Information Act, the Great Freedom of Information Act of 1974, all kinds of legislation, and so that there was a firmament in the government that was supposed to stand for the people, their health, safety, rights, economic well-being. And this was possible because that the people were out in the streets in the '60s. They showed up. They showed up at marches, showed up at rallies. It was anti-war, it was civil rights, it was women's rights, it was environmental, Earth Day, 1970. The second reason is there were key members of committees in Congress who actually had their finger to the wind. And they began representing people for a change instead of corporations. So they had hearings. The third was there were enough reporters for the Washington Post, AP, UPI, New York Times, Baltimore Sun, that reported all these things day by day. They weren't just reporting for the Pulitzer Prize in one big feature on page 1. They actually kept tabs at which senator was under influence, which House member was courageous. I would get information to Drew Pearson, who was a very powerful columnist at that time, syndicated around the country. And third, we had two presidents that signed these bills with flourishing statements. One was Lyndon Johnson, and the other was Richard Nixon. Now, why would Richard Nixon sign into law almost anything we got through Congress? OSHA, EPA, the great framing air and water pollution laws, the Product Safety Commission laws. Why? Because he heard the rumble from the people coming out of the '60s. Because he was the last Republican to fear Democratic liberals. Because he felt that it was the better side of valor politically to do so. And so how